from the Cuneo province. I could tell you that he's a food journalist, and he has been so since the mid-70s. But he also is the founder of an international organization, an international network, which you, of course, do know, which is the Slow Food Movement, the international slow food movement. It's present in many, many countries around the world. And that was born after he decided that it was not acceptable, I think it was in 1986, to have a big fast food which was going to be not built, but placed in one of the in the nicest places in Rome, with, if I remember, about 400 seats. It was a McDonald's, and he thought that it was not possible to accept that. And there was a big movement that was inspired by him, many people, and we, many years after that in France, had the same kind of movement, saying that if we accept to become part of the fast food industry as not actors of it, but just consumers, we are going to lose a lot. I could tell you also that Time magazine has decided some years ago that this man would be one of the most important persons on the earth for the work he's doing. And he also has written many books about slow food, about what this movement and this way of thinking is bringing to us all. Well, I will not tell you much more of these kind of information which you do know or you could find about anywhere on internet. I will just tell you about one experience that I had, a very personal experience, which was the first time I met Carlo Petrini. He doesn't know it yet. I used to be a student in a French business school, and in that school, as in probably many business schools, they use riddles. And that riddle was about the difference between a good manager and a good leader. You probably know it, probably they use it here too, saying, well, what is a good manager? And the answer was, a good manager is somebody who is able to take his whole team through a very dark and dangerous forest, and cross the forest and keep the whole team alive and in a good shape at the end of the trip. And a good leader would be somebody who would look for the highest tree in the forest and climb at the top of the tree and choose the right direction, so he would know where he would take his team. And at that time I thought that probably it was more fun to be a leader than a manager, so I decided to go and look for that tree. And I took some time because the forest was very hard and very dense, and I finally found it. It was a very big and nice tree. And when I got there, there was the guardian. You know, the guardian was a beaver, a lady beaver, at the foot of the tree. And I asked that beaver, could you please tell me if this is the leadership tree? And she looked at me and said, oh, you come from a business school, don't you? Yes. How did you guess? Well, you know, here you are in the real world, you are not in the business school world. Ah, okay. The tree you're looking for does not exist. This tree is the tree of the weavers. Ah, good. But can I climb the tree? I said, yes, please do. So I did climb the tree. It was not too easy, it took some time. And as she had told me, but be sure to be back before the end of the night, I made all my efforts to get at the top as soon as possible. And some hours later I got there, and before I got at the top of it, I was struck by the fact that there were like big white birds sitting on the highest branches of the tree. So I stopped on the branch and watched a bit, and I asked my neighbor, who was a black crow, what is that? They look like big white birds. And the white crow told me, well, you should look better. And so I went a bit closer, and I saw that they were not birds. They were hazy beings. And he told me, well, they are spirits. Oh, spirits at the top of the weaver tree. And I looked there, and I went closer to one of them, and I asked him, Mr. Spirit, what are you doing here? And the spirit opened his eyes, because I'd seen that all of them had closed eyes. And he said, well, I am weaving the future of humanity. Wow, this is impressive. And how do you do that? Well, first, I'm not alone. You see all these spirits around at the top of the tree. We are all working together. And what are you doing? What does it mean to be weaving the future of mankind? Well, first we look at what is important, so we close our eyes. Like that. You may try if you want to. And I said, okay, but I don't see anything. Look better. And as I was not seeing anything, he helped me and said, well, what you look at inside, there are beams or cords going in one direction and like threads. And these threads are the threads of space and time. But they mean nothing if you don't cross them with other threads, which are very important. Okay, and these new threads are the ones that are coming from the people, and they give meaning to time and space. So I looked, and I saw on these human threads little figures, little images, and they were all the same. There were two figures, two images that were repeating themselves, and one was an open hand, and the second was a brain, a human brain, you know, like with all these little curves, and it was inside another image, which was a heart. Oh, that's interesting. So the open hand and the brain inside the heart are the human part of the future of humanity. Well, that's interesting. Thank you so much, Mr. Spirit. And as I knew I had to go down the tree before the end of the night, I climbed down, and when I arrived at the soil level, the beaver was there, and she said, so, how was it? And I was, really shaken. I said, I don't know. It's a no. I can't make any interpretation of what I've been living. Okay, do you have any question? Did she say. Yeah, I would like to understand why I've been seeing that hand and that brain inside the heart. And well, she said, you know, that brain is your brain. Well, thank you. And so, why is it inside the heart? Well, it's because you have to pay really attention to never use your brain until you are sure that it is rooted into your heart. Oh, thank you. I will think about it. And what about the hand? Well, have you tried? Show me your hand. So I did like that. And how does it feel? She says. Well, I feel like I'm rooted on my feet with a hand like that. And the hand looks like it's me. It's the expression of myself. And she said, well, if your hand is you, if it is the expression of yourself, if it is your power, make sure that no one will take it. Keep your power. Oh, thank you. That's a beautiful lesson. But I have to go back to school because that morning I had a course of fast finance and another one of marketing. So I said goodbye and I left and went back to school. And I forgot about that story, and 4 years later, that was in '86, I was watching the news on TV, and I saw that all things happening in Rome, and that guy who was the leader, apparently, of the whole thing, saying, we must keep the power over our food. This is our dignity, this is our culture. And I was so amazed, because that man looked so much like the spirit who had been talking to me on the branch up there. His face was the same face. And I said, wow, that spirit was maybe the spirit of Carlo Petrini. Wow. And as time passed, I've been meeting many people. I've been meeting people like Judy Wicks and people like Woody Tash, who's around here, and many others, and a lot of them here too. And their faces looked quite known to me, and I think they were part of that team of spirits on the top of the tree who were weaving the future, our future. And so I made the connection. I said, oh, that's beautiful. And what is even more beautiful is that that spirit, that man on TV is here. And please help me welcome Carlo Petrini.